Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. When a group of suburban moms discover their public schools are under attack by a powerful network of religious extremists, they form a secret resistance to protect LGBTQ plus kids and defend free public education. This film is just a wonderful deep dive into many aspects of the struggle, the fight for our public school system and for the children, all of the children who attend them. The film is called Mom's Club, and we're joined today by the co-directors, co-producers, and co-writers of Mom's Club, and that would be Miranda Winters as well as Rocky Romano. To both of you, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
This film takes a deep dive into the attacks on the LGBTQ youth and the attempt to dismantle public education. Can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to start this project, to tell this particular story? Miranda, I'll start with you.
So we had spent years documenting protests in Southern California. We went to over 200 events in the streets, capturing all types of people. And there are people just standing up for what they believed in. But then on June 2nd, 2023, we experienced this very clear shift when a large protest erupted at a local elementary school over the reading of the Big Book of Families, which I have right here. The funny thing is that the Big Book of Families, it isn't really about LGBTQ families. In fact, it goes into, some people live with their grandma and grandpa. Some people have a lot of siblings. Some people have less siblings. Some people go to church. Some people go to mosque. It goes across the whole gamut, right? But it does say some kids have two moms or two dads. And that was the point that the people were protesting. They didn't like that. So that moment when we're filming Satakoy Elementary School made it obvious to us that the fight had moved from the streets into schools, and that the attacks on LGBTQ people had moved to children and into schools. We later made the connection that the efforts to disrupt schools were actually efforts to dismantle public education. And that's when we knew that this was the story that needed to be told, to document those challenges and show the courage of the communities that were on the front lines.
Well, when did you become aware of, maybe not all the women in the Moms Club that we see in the film, but when did you become aware of their activities? Rocky?
We became aware of the mom's activity after spending, I think, 2 years we spent filming on the streets, filming protests. And then we met one of the on-the-ground journalists, who's one of the moms in the film, who's actually even a grandma, Kelly Stewart. And she had started working with a group of mothers, and they had created this chat group. And we're trying to put all these pieces together in order to determine what was really happening at their schools. And that's when we first got a chance to meet the moms.
Well, Miranda, who beyond Kelly, it's a colorful group of women who were involved in this. In getting to know the group of women who were working on this, what was your entry point into getting to know them?
Like Rocky said, Kelly was really the person that opened the door. But then I think Daisy was the next person I met. And she started telling me about what they were doing. It was very surface level. She wasn't sure about us. I wasn't sure about her, but I did meet with her, and I've learned about these things. And she was like, yeah, we learned about those too. And we're trying to do this and this. And seeing her courage and the way they stood up for the kids and their communities, despite their real risk and hostility, honestly, made it impossible not to tell their story. The bravery and their resilience, as we got to know them, became the heart of the film, and really the reason we had to document it.
What was the first, I'll call them demonstrations out in front of the schools? What was the first one that you guys were at?
The first protest, riot, that demonstration that I was at Satakoy Elementary School.
Okay.
In the film, you can see the footage where the fight breaks out and the camera goes right into the middle of the fight, and that's my footage.
So in light of that, I can imagine that the core group that we see of the Moms Club would be very reticent to bring someone in that they weren't completely didn't know very as well. So, Miranda, you managed to win them. All of you, both of you managed to win them over.
Yeah, I
Well,
think that's a really important part of documentary filmmaking,
yeah,
to gain the trust of the subjects. And especially in this case, it was very risky for the moms to come on camera, and it's still risky that they are putting their faces out in front of all this. And we really hope that people will take away from this film, is the power of courage. The moms we met showed incredible bravery, standing up for their children and their communities, even in the face of the hostility and those physical risks. And we want audience to see that standing up for what's right isn't always easy, but it is necessary. That having the ability to make a difference when you have the courage to act is really important.
in the film, we see an instance. It's a barely veiled threat that lands in one of these women's. I think it was a Facebook post, I believe, that she received, which showed one of these guys shooting guns and talking about saying things like night night to in the direct messaging. I mean, that's not very thinly veiled, was it, Miranda?
No, these are the real threats that moms face. That's on the more extreme side,
Yeah,
obviously, but
yeah.
it's not just threats, it's also just it's trolls online that are dragging people. It's weird looks in the grocery store in their communities. It's a lot to have on your plate. And I think that the reason that they have this resilience is because they have community and they all can talk to each other and support each other through this.
Right.
And I think that's a very important point is the community aspect that supports their efforts.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the actual sort of threats to the LGBTQ plus community, how it's manifesting itself at these school boards. What's that look like?
When you see in the film, school board meetings that they've been dealing with are nothing like any of us would ever imagine a school board being like. I presume that school board meetings were just extremely boring. The first school board meeting we went to was insane. There were hundreds of people. There were people arguing outside. Then there were multiple speakers. And I'd also like to talk about the courage of the one trans youth that is in the film and his courage for stepping up and speaking, and also the kids speaking up at these meetings against these adults that are trying to implement policies that could very much harm them. One of the big policies that the extremists wanted to put in place was what they called parental notification, which in fact is a forced outing policy.
Right.
So if a kid comes to school and they want to keep their identities away, they don't want to come out to their parents yet, but they're comfortable coming out at school to their friends, potentially to their teacher. They wanted to require that teacher to have to forcibly report that child goes by a different either gender or is LGBTQ and report that to their parents. And oftentimes you could have a non-friendly household that would be extremely dangerous for that child to have to be put in that situation. And that really forces kids to really go deep into the closet and makes already the potential threat of harming themselves even greater.
I just quickly want to remind our listeners that we're speaking with Miranda Winters as well as Rocky Romano, and the film is called Moms Club. And if people want to connect with you in the film, where should they go to do that?
Right now, we have social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. And that's just at Moms Club Film, all one word.
Right.
And that's where you can find updates about the film, what's going on. Right now, we're doing a fundraiser to launch an impact campaign, which Rocky can talk about. But the fundraiser includes finishing costs, like third-party licensing, legal fees, website marketing, just really the whole gamut of what a film like this needs to really shine and make an impact. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I was eager to have you on the program, is because this is a film that's not in distribution yet. You are in the process of doing all the things that independent filmmakers have to do in order to get their product to market. So that's why I think it's important if people want to really be a part of getting a very, very solid and well done documentary film out into the world, you have an opportunity to be a part of this process and to really support people who are doing really a great job of shining a light on something that is fundamental to our society, whether or not our public school system is going to survive. And if it's going to survive, how can we make it better and more inclusive? And this is a great case. This film is a great case for all of those things.
Yeah, I think one of the things that that really comes out in the film as well is that it's not just local. It seems as though it's just right there on the ground. It's other parents, but really, one thing the film makes clear is that these extremist groups aren't isolated. Their influence stretches beyond protests and into schools, communities, and policy, and they often target marginalized populations like LGBTQ youth and try to sow fear and division. And we want people to understand the seriousness of that reach and at the level, at the highest level, how far it goes up. And I think this is going to be a real eye opener for audiences.
I agree that it's one of the real highlights of the film to kind of trace the local connections as well as the intermediate and truly national connections to groups that are hell bent on really altering the trajectory of our public school system, or even to the point of wanting it to go away for a privatized public system of education. And those are real threats, and those are threats that have been happening for a long, long time. And one historic thing, I'd like to throw this out there, which is we really didn't have a substantial public school system until the 1930s. We haven't had a real true American public school system that was including the entire population of the US. It's a relatively new thing as far as an institution in this country, and it's been under assault almost from the beginning. We didn't have child labor laws in the 1930s, so a lot of kids weren't going to school. So this is a fundamental part of a healthy society as a public school system. And it's been, like I said, it's been under attack for a long time, and this is another manifestation of that, which you highlight, which I really think you did such a great job.
A lot of people think that the dismantling of public education system is just came about during this recent new administration. But the truth is, this has been over 50 years in the making to try to dismantle public education.
I think a lot of it goes back to integration of public schools around the country, and that's where this comes from. And this is just another manifestation of that, of this attempt to essentially undermine public school systems. Well, in terms of Christy and Kelly and Daisy and Angie and Cardi B, their work continues. Again, this, I think, by helping, if you are so disposed that you're listening to our conversation, helping Moms Club is in either in a lot of ways moral support for the work they're doing. How are they doing right now? What's the sort of situation, Miranda, with the work they're doing?
You know, they continue on. They do what they do. In the film, obviously, we show specific, targeted actions that they're doing, and they continue to do these things. I think Rocky can maybe speak to anything more specific.
Yeah, I'm on a Signal chat. We're on Signal chat with all the moms, and they are a force of nature. They are continually working on connecting more and more dots. They're doing FOIA requests. They're working with experts to determine courses of action. They are diligently working to try to promote and get officials elected that can oppose this extremist views. Their work is nonstop, and I don't think it will ever really end for them.
That's great to hear. My sincere appreciation and respect for the women that we see in the film, and I know there are more. We happen to see these 5 women in the film doing what they do so well, but there are others, hundreds around California and across the country who continue to do this kind of work. I just interviewed some months ago the Kim A. Snyder, who did a documentary on our libraries called The Librarians, and
Yep.
just a very similar kind of situation that they find themselves in, very similar. So our public institutions are under assault, and they're not screwing around. These people mean business, and we have to mean business as well in our attempts to save and enrich these public schools. I think it's really
Yeah, that's it. And we feel the same way. And that's why we've created an impact campaign so that we're just not making the film to air on the screen. And our impact campaign is really about turning this story into action. We want to educate, engage, and activate people. And our goal is to build a website with a digital toolkit. We want to travel, giving free screenings to communities with the moms, and really try to empower people to make a difference.
That's fantastic. That's right. This Winter's Rock Entertainment, it was the outfit that you are from, which has been doing a lot of wonderful work in terms of filmmaking, advocacy filmmaking, shining a light on these very important issues. Rocky, point us to one or two, maybe a place where they could go for the social media, the
Yeah,
impact campaign.
every contribution, helps ensure that a project like this reaches as many people as possible. And you can find the link to the GoFundMe at any of our social media at Moms Club Film on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. And yeah, that would be incredible if people could help out. It's been a really amazing process with this film because we've had a huge grassroots movement that's been pushing this film, helping to fund it, helping to get the word out, and we couldn't be more encouraged.
As we're talking about the film and the impact campaign, been around filmmakers trying to get their product out enough to know that there may be other opportunities for people to see Mom's Club. How would we, if we wanted to go beyond the social media campaign or the impact campaign, Rocky, how can people help you in other ways that we haven't talked about?
Well, one of the unique things we're doing with the GoFundMe campaign is if you make a minimum donation of $25, we are doing private virtual screenings for donors. And we're using a really amazing platform called Kinema, and people will be able to watch the film. And then we have a full Q&A with a moderator, experts, the moms, and Miranda and myself that they get to be a participant in.
I feel good about the trajectory of this film. I think you're going to connect with a lot of people. And it's evident in the film, moms and dads are very committed to their children and making sure that they are being educated in the best environment. And it cuts right to the bone. So I think when you connect with the people that I think you will, I think you're going to get a great reaction from all this. So all the best to you. Well, my congratulations to both of you on your work on Mom's Club as co-directors, co-producers, co-writers. Miranda did the editing as well as Rocky was part of this, the crew of cinematographers who were out there documenting what we see in the film. And my hat's off to both of you for your work and for putting yourself out there in the way that you're doing with this film, Mom's Club. So thank you, Rocky Romano, as well as Miranda Winters. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you for taking the time to highlight independent filmmaking.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.